Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a movie called Greta. Greta left her bag in the subway. A young girl named Frances brought it to her. They then started bonding until one day Frances finds a closet with dozen other similar bags with girl's name and number written on them. She becomes horrified realizing this old lady is up to no good. She starts ignoring her, but Greta doesn't stop and calls her every day, as well as following her home and at work. One night she sent Frances a picture of her roommate Erica while she is out. Frances is shocked. She calls Erica to let her know Greta is right there taking pictures of her. Greta leaves the club, but Greta keeps sending pictures of Erica in real time. Erica gets in the subway, but Greta keeps taking photos. She finally sees Greta behind her. So she gets off the bus and tells her address to Frances, who hurry. She arrives to Erica, who jumps in the taxi with her, and both girls leave. The next day, a girl named Alex calls Frances about Nicholas, Greta's daughter that Frances has been trying to reach. Frances meets her at a coffee shop minutes later. She informs Frances that Nicola died 4 years ago. She killed herself. Frances is shocked as Greta told her she was alive and even pretended to have conversations with her on the phone. Alexa tells her Greta is a very ill woman. That same night, while at work, Frances' dad calls her as Erica told him about Greta. He wants her to cut her of her life. She then gets back to work and realizes her new customer is Greta. Frances drops a glass and tells her she can't serve her, then leaves. But her manager pushes her to bring her her order. Greta calls her darling and orders food. Frances asks her coworker to call the cops. Minutes later, Frances brings her wine and she throws the glass on the floor, screaming at Frances that she can't do this to her. She then tells her Frances's mom passed so they can meet. Greta then turns the table upside down and runs after the poor scared Frances. The manager as well as many customers stop her and hold her. They physically remove her from the restaurant, where the police arrives just in time to take her. The next day, Frances calls to find out if Greta has been released, but they can't share that information. She then shares to Erica that her dad wants to pick her up. Erica thinks she should go. She suggests she goes to see Greta and apologizes to her, make her believe the problem is her. She executes and goes to the church Greta usually go to. She of course finds her there. She sits next to her. She tells her she is sorry. She adds that tomorrow she will leave the city to think things over. Greta tells her that they connected and need each other. She adds, "You wouldn't lie to me, would you?" Frances responds, "No." Greta then gives her a hug. Later she puts some poison in her dog food and give it to her dog. Frances on her side gets home and gets one coffee. She sits down but then doesn't feel good, she feels dizzy. At this moment she sees Greta walking in the apartment and she passes out as Greta comes to her. She grabs Frances, who is almost unconscious, and pushing her into a taxi, pretending that it's her niece who is sick. The taxi drops them to Greta's house. Greta then opens a secret room behind her piano. Frances, who can barely walk or talk, witnesses the dog who is unconscious. Greta then puts her in a box. At this moment Frances wakes up and realizes it was all a dream. She looks around her apartment and calls for Erica, who is there. Her father then comes downstairs and Frances is ready to leave with her suitcase. She steps in the elevator and it skips the main floor, going many floors below at rapid speed. Frances panics as walls starts coming close to her. She then wakes up again and realizes that was a dream and what happened earlier actually happened. She finds herself in a box and panics. Greta opens and tells her this is the bed of lies. She then leaves the box open but closes the room door and starts playing some piano. Frances tries to escape, finding all possible ways around the room, banging on the door. Realizing she is stuck, she bursts out crying. She freaks out more after finding the ID of one of the girls she saw in the back one of the bags. And even her clothes. Frances wonders what's gonna happen to her and breaks down in tears on the floor. Meanwhile, her dad tries to get in touch with her and leaves a voicemail. Days go by and Greta sends pictures using Frances' phone to her dad to reassure him she is okay. She also sends pictures to Erica to make her believe she is on vacation with her dad. Greta keeps hearing Frances' dad voicemails. One day he sends her a voicemail saying he's back to the city. He goes to the apartment and Erica buzzes him in. They talk and both thought Frances was with the other. They realize something isn't right. Greta, on the other end, opens the door to a very traumatized Frances. She makes her play piano. On the other side, the dad hires a private investigator. Greta keeps feeding Frances with milk with poison. The next day, Frances is cooking with Greta and sees her opportunity. She cuts Greta's finger and knocks her out. She tries to example from the house, but the doors are not opening. She tries to find the key, but nothing. She then goes in the basement to find if there is another door. There she finds the body of Samantha, the girl that had her name on the bag. Greta appears from behind and makes her unconscious. Hours later, gives herself some medicine for the pain caused by the finger. Frances then wakes up tied up in a bath. Greta is right next to her. She ties her up to the bed. The next day, the private investigator arrives to Greta's house. He rings the bell. Frances hears him and tries to make a noise, but her mouth is tied. Greta then arrives. He asks if she knows about Frances. She tells him she hasn't seen her in a while and invites him inside. Frances starts making noise and Greta puts some music to cover it. She tells him it's her dog making noise. But he realizes there is an extra room behind the piano. At this moment, Greta comes and injects some substance to him. He passes out and she uses his gun to shoot him. Greta then puts his body in the basement and cleans around. Greta then heads to the subway, looks for her next victim. She spots a girl and before she leaves her bag behind, just like it was with Frances. A young girl takes the bag and brings it to Greta's house. Greta invites her in. The poor Frances is trying to make some noise. The noise has been heard and Greta says it's the neighbors. She screams to be quiet. She then comes back to the girl and asking her questions. She then doesn't feel good and drops her cup. She stands up while being dizzy. She feels so strange as the girl asks her if she is okay. The girl says maybe she has been drugged. She says it happened to a friend of her once. She then removes her wig and says she searched hours and hours for that bag. The girl reveals herself to actually be Erica. Greta collapses while being dizzy. Realizing the voice of Erica, Frances starts moving a lot. Erica searches for her and finds the room behind the piano. She opens in and finds Frances. She unties her and Frances tells her she is not sure she can walk, so she holds her. They then hear music playing in the living room and Frances gets terrified. Erica grabs an object ready to hit Greta. Frances comes out and Greta grabs her in one last attempt, but she is too weak and collapses. They then lock her in that box as both best friends are happy it's over. Frances wonders what to do now. Erica wants to call the cops and tell them everything. Erica then takes Frances outside and the movie ends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other movie summaries we have on our channel.